So today I'd like to finish my grammar study that I started in September 3rd, 2020, somewhere around there. I tried to present an idea in logical order, and if you watched some of my videos, you might see that it flowed in kind of a logical order. I started with the word that, I talked about it. Then I talked about that noun clauses. Then I talked about the noun complement. Then I tried to show that in the noun clause, there's usually an element of noun complement. There's usually kind of a noun complement hiding in there. Then I talked about level changes, how you move in the mind from one level to another grammatically. In other words, you can envision a sentence in more than one way to try to figure it out. And in that study, I kept things in mind like syntax. That's the order of words, how you order your words in a sentence. And then I kept in mind diction. That's the choice of words that you use. And I'll kind of show how I did that today. I'll review that. Now, I discovered in this short study, a little over 2 years, I discovered that the speed of thought is just incredibly fast. It's possibly faster than the speed of light or equal to it. I discovered the complexity of thought, how the mind works to allow us to speak like this and to have discourse, to talk back and forth at lightning speed, boom, boom, boom. It's so fast, it's unbelievable. Then, of course, the destiny of thought. And I say that because thought's supposed to evolve. Language is supposed to evolve. Your religion and your government, they're all supposed to evolve. You never want a regressive language. You never, ever want a regressive government or religion. That's no good, and it's pretty much proven by what you see when you turn on the news or turn on the internet. You'll see that the regressive nature of things causes trouble and conflict and sometimes shooting and war, okay? So in this study, the key thing to keep in mind was reason, using reason or logic, and that's logos. You'll find that in the Bible. In the beginning was logos, or the word, but actually what it meant was reason. And here you have not regressive. You don't want regression in language because it causes trouble, and you lose ground. You don't move forward and gain knowledge, you lose. Okay? So let's take a look at what I tried to explain here. Let's kind of give an example of that whole grammar study, okay? Let's say you're on level 1. You have a sentence. This is your first level, all right? And I'll read this to you. We suspect that what he did was illegal. Okay, we suspect that what he did was illegal. So even with a basic knowledge of grammar, you see you have a subject, a verb, and you kind of think that's a direct object, okay? That what he did was illegal. So you're kind of saying, well, what is that? Let's take a deeper look. So we move to level 2, we could call it. Level 2, we reword, we use different words to make this sentence, because in the mind, we kind of think like, what are we really saying here? Well, here's what we're saying. We're saying we suspect something. We suspect something. And then there's your colon, your punctuation. What he did was illegal. So if you look at level 1, you're speaking this and you're talking to someone, a friend. But actually, you could be saying this here structurally. We suspect something. And that something is a noun. So what do we have here? We see that on the first level, we had the word that, okay? But when we changed and moved to another level, we saw that the word that changed into the word something, which is a noun, and the punctuation colon. So the word that is actually a proform, okay? It's not a relative pronoun. I explained that earlier, but the word that is a proform. It stands in for something. And in my grammar system, my mind, the proform, all right, it stands in for reasonable implied content. In other words, it stands in for something that's reasonable, it's kind of logically implied, and it makes sense, okay? So here we have, when we move from one level to another to have a better understanding of what we're actually saying, okay, we see that the word that stands in for a noun and punctuation, and we see that that is a proform, okay? That's what it's doing, that's its job. Then here we see, all right, something is a noun. And if it's a noun, then this takes on a direct object quality. In other words, you say, oh, that's a direct object, all right? And then we also discover that the phrase, what he did was illegal, would be, all right, your object complement. Or you could call it in a positive. You could argue about that, but we're not going there today. So you see that you have the word something, all right, it's a noun, and that'll be your direct object. It has that quality. And also then you see that what follows that word, all right, is your object complement. So when we look at this study, moving from one level simply right just to the next level, all right, we discovered something that we otherwise might not be able to see looking only at our level 1 basic sentence. We discover here that this structure, that what he did was illegal, all right, that's a noun clause, and that is indeed a direct object. In other words, in our minds, we went deep and we found out that, yes, that is a direct object. It has that quality. And we see that the word that, is a noun clause indicator, which I talked about in previous videos. All right. So here we have, our whole study was to try to find the noun complement element or flavor in the noun clause. So did we find that here? Do we have a noun complement here? That's the question. In this example, going from level 1 to 2, do we have a noun complement here? Well, yes, we do. We had an object complement, and an object complement is essentially a noun complement. So in this example, you can look at this and think about it, all right? See what goes on in the mind when we speak. It's lightning fast. We see that there was a hidden noun complement in that structure. And that was one of the main points for doing this study, was a long time ago, is to show how I worked my way deep into the sentence to find stuff that ordinarily people don't know about or don't care about. And remember, we have to keep learning something new and exercising the brain, and we'll get dementia and Alzheimer's and all other crap. You don't want that crap, so you got to keep the brain moving and keep using it. Okay, let's try a different example here. Let's start with level 1. All right. We suspect that what he did was illegal, because that's where we start. We start on level 1. Okay. Now we have the word what here. Let's focus on that. We say, well, what's what? What's that? Now, the previous focus was on the word that, but now we're going to look at what, all right? So we know from my previous videos, right, that what is also a proform, and I don't call it a relative pronoun. It's a proform, and it stands in for reasonable implied content. In other words, content. It means the thing that, okay? So the word what, in your mind, you think, oh, it means the thing that, okay? Now, in this example, we don't move to level 2, we move to a different level, level 3. We say in the mind now, excuse me, what are we saying in the mind? Well, on this third level, which is different, we're saying we suspect that the thing that he did was illegal. So now we have, see, once the proform kicks in, we have the thing, that's a noun phrase, and the thing is your noun. Then you have a distinction clause, which used to be called relative clause. I don't call it that. That's a horrible name. And then you see the word that is now your distinction indicator. So when you moved to this level here, yet a different level, all right, you see different things and you see the structure and you see it clearly. Okay, you see that he did, okay, that he did is a distinction clause. And in my videos, I showed you and I explained it clearly that this distinction clause can function as a noun complement. And in fact, most people would think it does. So what happened here to this 2.5 years of blah, 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 this guy won't stop talking and he won't stop losing hair? Well, what happened was when you move from level 1 to 2, okay, we see here what he did was illegal, all right? When we focus on this phrase or clause, okay, we see that we get an object complement, which is actually a noun complement, which proves what I said about the noun clause. Somewhere in there is an element or an essence or a flavor of a noun complement. That was the whole point of the study. Then also we discovered that when you move from level 1 to 3, you see that the word that is in focus, that he did, and that's clearly a distinction clause, and that's a noun complement. It can be functioning as a noun complement. So the study works. It worked. If you have an open mind, you can see you can move from level to level, all right? And you still get somewhere in there is the flavor or essence or the suggestion of a noun complement. I know that took kind of long today, but that's 2.5 years worth of thinking and study on this, and I could not find any in-depth study on this particular topic on the internet anywhere, and you likely won't find it. But that, I'd like that to be either the final word on this topic, or at least really close to the final word, because I went from there, took a couple years all the way down to the different levels of thinking in the mind, and that way you can know actually what are you saying, like what am I saying? Is it structurally sound, and does it even make any sense? Do any of these videos actually make any sense? Okay, that's it. I don't know where I'll go from here, but maybe we'll see you again. Good night.